Ladies and gentlemen, hello from my part. After this spectacular presentation by Mr. Stambolis, I'm sure that all the distinguished speakers of this panel, a very intimidating panel with so many ambassadors around, they will ask for a copy of this really flagship initiative of ENA, of the Institute of Energy for Southeast Europe, which is a momentous effort. If I'm not mistaken, it covers 1,100 pages, if not more.
1,200 pages.
I'm sorry about the remaining 100 I missed. I would really, without a joke here, I would like you to inform our speakers if and when this report will be available, because it covers all the region, it covers 16 countries of the region and some so-called complementary countries which play a role also in what concerns energy in Southeast Europe.
The study will be released next Thursday when we have the official presentation at the Athens Stock Exchange. All ambassadors present today have been invited, and in due course they will receive a hard copy of the study.
Fine. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present this very distinguished panel we have today with us. Starting from my left, we have Ambassador Mr. Popov, Ambassador from Moldova. We have Mr. Poriazov, the Ambassador of Bulgaria. Mr. Erciyes, the Ambassador of Türkiye, which you didn't name in its correct way, Mr. Stambolis. You were always saying Turkey, it's Türkiye. Then we have our ambassador, the ambassador of Azerbaijan, Mr. Mammadov, and last but certainly not least, the ambassador of Kazakhstan, a complementary country in what concerns energy in the region. I hope I will pronounce your name correctly, Ambassador Sultangozhin. I want to thank all ambassadors dearly for their presence here. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you. I have to start with something that might sound very, very commonplace. I mean, that energy has nowadays, in this disrupted world we live in, become not just, let's say, a commodity. Energy has become a vehicle of influence and a vehicle also of geopolitics, if not of geostrategic planning. So this forum is concentrating on Southeast Europe, the panel also. So I would very much like to speak and discuss with the distinguished participants what their view is in what concerns energy in this area, because we heard that also during the previous panels, but I think Mr. Stambolis also mentioned it. Today, perhaps energy security is much more important than energy transition. Why? Because we live in this disrupted world, and every day we have a new, let us say, situation popping up, and it is very difficult for many countries in the region, especially those that do not possess energy resources, how to manage and fulfill, satisfy their needs. So there is no doubt that cooperation, and especially regional cooperation, is a must. And I believe that this report of ENA has given us a glimpse of how this regional cooperation has improved during the last years, because our region is first of all a bridge uniting 3 continents, Europe, Asia, and Africa. It is a region which possesses certain amount of energy resources, but it is also a facilitator, a connector between the big energy producing countries in the East to the big energy market in Europe. So we heard that the vertical, let's say, route will be expanding and reaching even your country, Ambassador. So
even beyond to Ukraine.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully
already,
it will,
already.
Yes, reach also Ukraine. I would like your view on how your country is approaching this issue of regional cooperation in the energy sector.
You know, because my country was a country 4 years ago, one of the two countries in the world who were both president and prime minister were women, and our president, Maya Sandu, was in Athens in December, and vertical corridor was one of the key subjects of her discussions. I cannot resist to make a remark which might not be politically correct, but at this hour, and I know that organizers didn't plan for the panel to be all male ambassadors, but the result is this. But as the one who came in the morning at the first panel, I can tell you, I'm impressed that most of the audience is formed of ladies, and while men have changed, but I see many participants, ladies who have been here since, 10 hours now, or something like this. Thank you very much.
It's because of you gentlemen, of course.
Sorry for this. Yes, you mentioned cooperation. Cooperation is the key word, and our region was not always about cooperation. And what Minister Papastavrou said in his panel, we have to learn, we have to develop the culture of cooperation, and have to learn to put the short-term individual interests and gains aside in exchange for getting common, greater benefits in medium and long term. And this is what it is about. The vertical corridor, and it is being pushed forward out of necessity very much, because we managed to not let this energy crisis waste it. And it jump-started the cooperation, the top political will and commitment of our governments, but also the involvement of United States, which creates an enabling framework, is helping us to make it operational. In fact, Moldova, 4 years ago, my country was totally, absolutely, 100% dependent on Russian gas. Not any longer. We get all 100% of our gas now from European and international markets, and it's a big achievement. And we're buying from Greece, and in November there was a fantastic partnership for transatlantic energy cooperation here, which brought about 1,000 ministers, including 2 secretaries from US, and there was a special session on the vertical corridor.
Exactly.
2-hour-long session, and there were practical discussions. What has to be done to make it commercially feasible, lasting, and use it as an enabler not only of energy transition, to see beyond technical nature of this project, but to make it a pillar of regional stability and security, what is actually there, and also make it enabler of our dual-use corridors, like rail corridor, like transportation corridor, and now everything is going. Moldova was the first country in 2022, just a month after interconnector Greece-Bulgaria was launched. We used the gas. We were in an emergency situation. Russia cut all its gas, so we bought some gas from there. In March 2024, we also were the first country of the region which bought the first gas which came to the Alexandroupolis FSRU. This autumn, all countries of the region of this vertical corridor, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine, reduced by half the transit, making it more commercially viable. And now we are talking about how to make this unique enterprise work And as Minister Papastravo tellingly, in the first remark of his intervention, he spoke about vertical corridor, saying it's a unique enterprise. It's very difficult and complex to manage because there are 5 transmission system operators, 5 energy regulators from 5 different countries. We have to make them work and to bring gas from Greece, a lot of gas coming from US, all the way to Moldova and Ukraine. And I close with this so you understand better the huge potential of this endeavor, as there are no Ukrainian participants here. But Ukraine has huge underground gas storage capacities. Think about it. 30 billion cubic meters of underground gas storage capacities. It's about 1/3 of the US, of the European Union, 100 billion. Ukraine has 1/3 of this. And while European Union capacities are underground are almost fully full, Ukraine are unused. And the vertical corridor big potential is how to bring enough volume of gas via Greece as a major entry point all the way to Ukraine and use the underground capacities. And a small country like Moldova, for the first time in its history from energy consumer, is one of the contributors to wider energy security. And I close with the need indeed to learn this culture of cooperation to put the common good above the short-term individual gains.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. It's really a condition sine qua non. There is no doubt about cooperation, and a lot has been done in the region. And perhaps a lot has been done because a lot was needed also in the region. Yet, I believe, Ambassador Poriazov, that we still have problems that we have to address in this region. For instance, the electricity prices we are paying are so much higher than those in Western or Central Europe. Our electric grids are really inefficient. We have to do more on that. We have to increase their effectiveness. We have very few or fewer storage possibilities. How do you believe we can address all these issues in order to have also this very important factor, lowering the prices for our citizens?
I believe we can address this issue as many other issues with pragmatic realism. I'm quoting Mr. Carney, whose speech in Davos I appreciated very much. We still have to adhere to our core values, which make Europe and the European Union what it is. At the same time, we should be more realistic in our approach. Probably, I would say, in general, not only about the electricity grids, that we have to face the situation as it is now. It is very difficult in this unpredictable world that you have mentioned now to make long-term forecasts. So I believe we should address the issues as they stand today. Regarding the electricity grids, I'm not quite in agreement with what you say, that they're inefficient. For example, the ones between Greece and Bulgaria are excellent. We have last year opened a new one, which is a huge capacity, so we can exchange electric energy between our two countries on a daily basis in a quite an efficient way. And for example, it's rather strange because if you see the data 5 years ago, 30% of the electric energy Greece has consumed was produced in Bulgaria. During this season, especially in winter, our electricity consumption is usually in the winter time very high, and this is not the case with Greece. So we started to have a bigger import from Greek electric energy. So I don't quite would agree with the notion that our countries in the region lack cooperation or something like this. I believe during the last 20 years, maybe, our countries in the region have shown quite an exemplary level of cooperation, starting with the energy community for Southeastern Europe. And because my country, for good or bad, is maybe for the better, is at the very center of the region, so we have developed an extensive energy cooperation with all our neighbors. Of course, being a member of the European Union for 20 years now, we have developed our cooperation with our partners in the European Union, but also we have quite a track record of energy and all other cooperation with Turkey for many years and with our neighbors in the Western Balkans. So what I can say is that our transmission systems work fluently with all our neighbors, also from south to north, but also from east to west. And before that it was from north to south, but we can use the Trans-Balkan pipeline in a reverse manner. So we also have developed the interconnector Greece-Bulgaria, where we receive 1 billion BCM from Azerbaijan, and I take this opportunity to express our high appreciation of the cooperation with Azerbaijan, but also with Greece, Turkey, and all our neighbors. I'm saying this in the context of the quite unfortunate fact that Mr. Putin has stopped all the gas flows to Bulgaria, and we were immediately after the start of his invasion of Ukraine, we were 92% dependent on natural gas from Russia, and now we are 0%. And we have seen, and we are an example of what, when we say solidarity in Europe, we have felt it in real terms, this solidarity between your member states, but also with our neighbors. What is important also to say that it's not, our region is diverse, of course, and it's not only EU members, but also we have a regional factor, shall I say, along with this, Mr. Ambassador, Turkey, with a huge economy and energy consumption, but also with production of energy resources, different resources also coming from the Black Sea, from any other countries. We have constructed the extension of Turk Stream through Bulgaria, which we call it on our territory Balkan Stream, to Serbia, Slovakia, and Hungary. We have developed, and we are most probably we are the only country now at this moment which is working on the vertical corridor in terms of infrastructure, and by developing this new infrastructure we are going to increase the volume, the capacity from south to the north, from the current about 5 billion cubic meters to 10 billion cubic meters. This infrastructure is currently being built in Bulgaria, at the border with Greece and also at the border with Romania. So our neighbors to the north can make use of the vertical corridor. Regretfully, as probably it is mentioned in this analysis of Mr. Stamboulis Institute, the market tests were not quite, shall I say, positive regarding the vertical corridor, but what we can expect is that it might be different data when some other market tests are going to be made in the future. As for the pragmatic realism, I can also mention last week's decision by the Council of the European Union regarding the consumption of Russian gas. So we're going to stop as early as the beginning of 2027 any import of Russian LNG. And starting from October 2027, all Russian natural gas through pipelines. So again, we are going to count on LNG imports from the vertical corridor, LNG, US LNG. I'm sorry for probably I've spoken too long, but anyway, last July, if you all will remember that the European Union and the US have signed a deal saying that 750 billion US dollars of imports of American natural gas to Europe. It might come through the vertical corridor from the Greece LNG terminals. By the way, shall I mention that we have quite actively participated in the construction of the terminal FSRU at Alexandroupolis, and we owe 20% of this terminal. We would be interested in the next project for a second FSRU, if it is going to be constructed by the same company in which we participate. But also we have a huge, shall I say, huge opportunities in view of the Republic of Turkey. There, in the last regulation of the Council, it says that any gas which is entering the EU borders, but in this case it is the border between Turkey and Bulgaria, probably between also Greece and Turkey, it should be absolutely clear that there is no Russian component of the so-called Turkish mix, which my dear colleague is going to probably say something about that. So how it is going to be decided that there is no Russian component of in the Turkish mix, I don't know, but most probably this issue is going to be a matter of negotiations or talks between the European Union and Turkey. So we shall see what the next future will bring us. But in order to summarize, I believe we have a quite good level of cooperation in the region, not only amidst EU member states, but also with all our neighbors in the broader region. So I wouldn't be aware of any risks for our energy security if we keep up the pace of our cooperation as up to now. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Diversification, of course, is very, very important, even in the new situation that we will be facing today or tomorrow. Of course, let us not forget about the rules of the market, which sometimes have a great power influencing things. We surely share your lack of knowledge of what will happen with gas coming through pipelines from Turkey, if it is or it isn't Russian gas, nobody knows, but still. And then, of course, coming to you, Ambassador Erciyes, is very, very natural. Ambassador Poriazov mentioned Turkey and its importance, which was also underlined by Mr. Stambulis very much. If I'm not mistaken, you have a small slide, or?
So I have one slide.
Yes, which we would very much like you to explain us what it all is, and of course spend some words on the importance, the huge importance of Turkey's needs, but also of Turkey's solution to its energy needs, which influence so much our wider region. We saw the various statistical maps that are different with or without the presence of Turkey. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Michael. It is really a great pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be with you, with our fellow ambassadors here. If you allow me, let me start with, I agree with you that energy has become a cornerstone of geopolitical stability, especially energy security. And I see two interconnected challenges which stand out. as you mentioned, and I think Mr. Stambolis also mentioned this, diversification of energy suppliers and energy routes, and transition towards decarbonization. These are the two important challenges that we all face. Addressing those challenges, we need to cooperate. We need to deepen our cooperation. We already have a cooperation, both at regional and global levels. Against this background, we hold a unique position as Turkey, not with our geography only, but with our huge energy infrastructure and active energy diplomacy. We serve as a bridge connecting Caspian region, Central Asia, the Caucasus, and the Middle East to European markets. We provide gas, because gas is very much on the agenda. We get gas not only from one supplier. I think our minister mentioned this a month ago. We receive gas from 22 different countries, from 33 companies. Here in the back you see the Turkish pipeline system, both oil and gas. We receive mostly from Azerbaijan, TANAP. We have 3 pipelines connecting Azerbaijan to us, 2 gas, one oil. We have pipelines coming from Iran, and we have pipelines coming from Russia as well. And we have a huge and very developed pipeline system for both oil and gas. And we have the largest LNG capacity and infrastructure. We started to invest in 2016, and our capacity and infrastructure is the largest, way largest, in the wider region. We have 2 onshore LNG terminals. I think, a pointer. LNG terminals in Izmir and in Marmara Sea. These are onshore LNG terminals. And we have 3 FSRUs. And this gives us, those 5 units provide us over 52 BCM of regasification capacity. This is a huge capacity. We have underground storage in Central Anatolia and one in Marmara. Their current capacity is 5.8 BCM. But we hope to increase this 13.8 BCM. This is again a huge underground storage capacity for gas. Last year, we're not using this capacity totally. We imported 14.3 BCM LNG. It is almost 1/3 of our annual consumption from different countries. Of course, half of this came from US. We imported nearly 7 BCM of LNG from the United States. We're talking about different corridors, vertical corridors. I believe while alternative energy corridors may complement our diversification efforts, our country's infrastructure, huge infrastructure and capacity will continue to play an important role in the region in terms of connectivity and system integration. Another point, my dear Bulgarian ambassador mentioned it, we're not just a transit country. We have increasingly becoming an important producer of gas and oil as well. We made a huge discovery in the Black Sea in 2020, the Sakarya offshore gas field. And we started the production in records time in 3 years. The current production is around 3.2 BCM, and we plan to increase this to 14.6 BCM by 2028. This is almost 35% of Turkey's annual gas consumption. This is something really huge. And I believe the neighboring countries, Southeastern European countries, may also benefit from that as well.
But for the time being, it is consumed internally, gas from Sakarya.
That is true.
Yeah.
But we will most definitely have a surplus with all this LNG imports, the gas coming from Azerbaijan. And we're also trying to bring gas from Turkmenistan as well. So Turkey will continue to be a key player in the region with all this infrastructure, the huge capacity, and as a big market. I don't want to go into the oil production, but we've also made a huge discovery in the southern eastern part of Turkey, and it's the Gabar region, very good quality oil. Last year, we together with this Gabar reserves, our annual production has reached to 48 million barrels. This is also very important, almost 10% of our annual consumption. So this rising domestic production reduces also our import dependence and also enhances the regional supply resilience as well. Mr. Stambolis mentioned the nuclear energy. We hope to start the first production this year in Akkuyu nuclear plant. The full capacity is 4.8 gigawatt, and we also plan to construct 2 more, one in Sinop region in the Black Sea and one in the Thrace region. Renewable energy, we are also doing very well in the renewable energy. 60% of our installed electricity capacity comes from the renewable energy. I think we are 6th in Europe, and we are one of the Europe's leading renewable energy markets. And what is interesting is that most people doesn't know this. Turkey ranks 4th globally in solar panel manufacturing. We are very good at solar panel manufacturing. We are number 1 in Europe and 4th in the world. And also we are very good we are 5th in the world in the production of the wind turbine components. So this is also another area that we can cooperate with the Southeastern European countries. We are open for cooperation as well. To sum up, I think in conclusion, the challenge, most important challenge, lies in managing energy projects through cooperation and mutual interdependence rather than competition. This is my message. and there is room
Yes.
for cooperation,
Yeah.
cooperation in our region as well. We already have a cooperation, as Valentin mentioned. We have to deepen this cooperation. We are, as Turkey, we are committed to inclusive connectivity, shared energy security, together with our neighbors, and regional stability. And we stand ready to deepen cooperation at both regional and global level for a secure, sustainable, and resilient energy future. Thank you.
Thank you, Çağatay. Very interesting, especially the last part, confirming your commitment, Turkey's commitment to cooperation. I say this because sometimes erroneously, we here also in Greece have the impression that Turkey wants to take advantage of its very important role in what concerns energy consumption, transport, and so on, without cooperating more closely with its neighbors, which is an erroneous impression. And I say that because I have a, let me say, personal experience. I remember very well that in 2003 and 2004, when I was ambassador in Ankara, we were talking with your then Minister of Energy, Mr. Güler, using exactly the argument you chose at the beginning of your intervention, that Turkey, and I added Greece, lie between the energy producing countries and the big market in Europe. So it is only logical that we can cooperate. In fact, at that time we were also discussing about connecting pipelines transporting oil, which was later left aside. But thank God we had TANAP and TAP that was mentioned. Ambassador Mammadov, you heard so much about the role of Azerbaijani natural gas, but not only, in the region, and how grateful we all are to you. So I would very much like to hear from you how your country views this cooperation and synergies with countries in Southeast Europe, and what we can foresee in the near future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. It is a really pleasure to be here. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer for bringing us together, and at the same time, I would like to express my pleasure to be among my fellow ambassadors and also our strategic partners. Let's say, not only in the energy sector, by the way. Azerbaijan and Mr. Stambolis, first I would like to thank you for mentioning Azerbaijan. Hearing actually his interview, his presentation, I didn't want to come here because he said everything, but I'm here. We are also very, let's say, satisfied with our cooperation with Turkey, with Bulgaria, and with all our partners. I would like to say that Azerbaijan is a reliable partner, reliable supplier to Europe when it comes to energy. Our actual cooperation with the European Union is institutionalized. Since 2022, we have high-level energy dialogue, and also it is backed up by the Memorandum of Understanding on strategic cooperation in the energy sector. This gives us the framework. This gives us a foundation, both technical and political, for what's happening on the ground. And actually, it does not cover only natural gas. It covers only also renewables, reduction of emissions, expansion of pipelines, grids, etc., etc. When it comes to the figures, let me state that in 2025 we produced 51 billion cubic meters of natural gas, and 25 billion of it was exported to our partners, to consumers. And 13 billion out of these 25 billion cubic meters reached European countries. So right now, Azerbaijan exports natural gas to 16 countries in total. Among them is Bulgaria, Turkey, Italy, Greece. Greece gets 18% of its, let's say, natural gas from Azerbaijan. Quite recently, in January 2026, our natural gas started to be delivered to Germany and Austria. So Southeastern Europe, what it gets actually with Azerbaijan natural gas, I think Southeastern Europe gets real diversification. That's very important for this, not only energy security, but security in general. And Mr. Stambolis also mentioned Southern Gas Corridor, which is how Azerbaijani gas is delivered from the Caspian Sea to European market. It is actually it's a system of pipelines. It starts in Baku with South Caucasus pipeline. In Turkey it is TANAP, which is in the middle of the system. And then right at the border of Greece and Turkey, it is TAP, Trans-Adriatic pipeline, that goes through the territory of Greece and Albania, right to Italy. What I would like to say is that, you know, with this 13 billion cubic meters of natural gas reaching European markets right now, and I would like to again to follow the, let's say, topic of our panel, which is about the challenges facing not only diplomatic and energy challenges facing the southeastern European countries. We do have a challenge right now, but it is not related to the resources, because Azerbaijan have resources to expand natural gas delivered to the European markets. The problem is the infrastructure right now. It needs an expansion. And a good example is Trans-Adriatic pipeline. In January this year, Kipi compressor station has completed expansion, and it gave us an opportunity to add 1.2 billion cubic meters of additional gas to the TAP system. But adding 2 to 3 billion cubic meters of additional gas to the system requires multi-billion-dollar, let's say, investments across the value chain, both in upstream production in Azerbaijan and downstream pipeline expansion. The problem is that, you know, for this you need long-term contracts. Ambassador Poriazov talked about that in these unpredictable days. We need to go day by day. But when it comes to the finances, of course, we need predictability and long-term predictability. And when we talk about the long-term predictability, I mean 15 to 20 years contracts that we need in order to decide on multi-billion investments into the pipeline expansion and also upstream projects. And also, of course, we need financing as well, because without participation of development institutions, including European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, let's say the projects can't get green light. But talking about long-term contracts, again, we face another challenge, and this time a diplomatic challenge maybe, because right now Europe opts for or focuses on short-term contracts. Okay, it gives you flexibility, but at the same time it increases the price volatility, and at the same time it exposes you to the global LNG competition. In comparison, pipeline gas that is delivered under the long-term framework gives you much more affordability. It gives you, it remains much more stable, and also it is lower in a carbon footprint, life cycle carbon footprint, that's compared to LNG and other unconventional gas. So Azerbaijani gas coming through the Southern Gas Corridor actually contributes to 3 objectives at once: affordability, supply, security of supply, and reduction of emissions. But our cooperation with Europe is not only limited to natural gas. Right now, Azerbaijan is also supports or couples its natural gas exports with accelerated development of renewable energy. And we are not at the level of Turkey or Greece, of course. You get 60% of your energy from renewable sources. In our case, until 2030, we will get around 40% of it from renewable sources. In 2027, we will get it will be around 33%. And when we get this renewable energy online, It will allow us to save around 1.2 BCM of natural gas for exporting to the European market. And it will also allow us to save around 2.5, to reduce emissions by 2.5 million tons. We are also engaged and cooperating with our partners in building green energy corridors between the Caspian Sea and Europe. The first one is Caspian Black Sea Green Energy Corridors that we are building together with Georgia, Romania and Hungary. The joint venture has already been, it's operational, and the feasibility study will be completed soon, actually in April of this year. The construction should start in 2028 and the first phase will be completed in 2032. The cables that will be laid underneath of the Black Sea will enable us to export around up to 4 gigawatts of renewable energy from the Caspian Sea to Europe. But we are not limited with that. We are also cooperating with Kazakhstan, let's say, partners and Uzbekistan in building a green energy bridge across the Caspian Sea to Central Asia. Since 2024, a joint venture is operational and it is based in Baku. And the idea is to bring Central Asian green energy to European markets through Azerbaijan. And also there is East-West corridor that we are building together with Bulgaria, Turkey and Georgia. But let me be clear, we don't see these corridors as a replacement of natural gas. They are actually complementary. The sustainable and resilient energy system in southeastern Europe requires both molecules and electrons, power grids and pipelines, and planned at the same time. What we need right now, I think, in southeastern Europe is an alignment, aligning, let's say, long-term system design with short-term policies also, short-term policies. And Azerbaijan's view is very simple. We see natural gas, power grids, pipelines, and renewables not as competitors, but interdependable parts of the same system. And my message is that Azerbaijan is ready. Azerbaijan is ready to deepen its already good cooperation with the European Union, with Bulgaria, with Greece, with Turkey, with all our partners, in order to turn dialogue into deliveries. Deliveries measured in megawatts, in cubic meters, in reduced emissions, and stable markets. Thank you.
Stable markets, yes, predictability. And also the risk sharing, I believe, can be very important. Thank you so much, Ambassador. So, Ambassador Sultangozhin, let us approach the Central Asian giant that is Kazakhstan. And I have to admit, I know very little about your energy potential, energy market. And I would very much like to hear from you, for the benefit of our audience, about your presence and your contribution to this part of the world, apart, of course, from a brief description of the energy sector in your country.
Well, first of all, Mr. Moderator, I would like to mention that energy is not only gas or renewable.
Yes.
It's also crude oil, which I think today the show was thrown by the topic of the gas, but let me mention that you also mentioned Kazakhstan as being a complementary state, but may I correct it a little bit, because at the moment Kazakhstan is one of the largest crude oil exporters to the European Union. And unfortunately, the slide on the Kazakhstan's roles in production and delivering of the crude oil to the European markets has slept. But let me then say a few words about where Kazakhstan stands in terms of oil reserves and our role in securing the energy security, not only in Europe, but perhaps globally. So at the moment, Kazakhstan is the 12th largest producer globally in terms of oil reserves. We have 30 billion proven crude oil, Not only that, but we currently deliver about 12% of the European needs in crude oil, and moreover in Greece, we are right now the second largest exporter of crude oil to the local market. So we are currently presenting about roughly 24% of the local demand, which is last year, according to the Greek statistics, was roughly equal to the 4 billion euro, which I think is largely significant. And that being said, of course, Kazakhstan was always very reliable and predictable partner for the European Union in terms of providing the crude oil transportation to the energy needs, but also a very strong contributor to the development of all sorts of connectivity, specifically through the CPC pipeline and the other means of transportation. And we, as a country, have always called for depolitization of the energy market and its infrastructure. And as you know, Kazakhstan is, while being rich in oil and gas, and by the way, just to mention, Kazakhstan has about 30 billion cubic meters of natural gas reserves, which also puts us on the map. But unfortunately, we are not delivering it to European markets, but it's rather consumed domestically and goes to some other means. But as I said, Kazakhstan is being rich in resources and also being one of the largest, perhaps the largest landlocked country in the world. It is very important for us to rely on the very feasible, reliable, strong transport connectivity, not only for the goods and trade, but also for the delivering of the energy. And as one of the exporters of crude oil to the European markets, we are very much concerned about the recent developments that have been specifically targeting the energy infrastructure in the Black Sea that is very crucial for delivering the Kazakh KEPCO, which is a Kazakh brand of crude oil, to the European consumers. And here we are very open to cooperate, to find the legal means, to avoid such disruptions to the very important logistical means of delivering the crude oil to the global energy and specifically European energy market. Of course, taking into account that the attack was mostly targeting the CPC pipeline, which is a Caspian Pipeline Consortium, by the way, consisting of very prominent American and European companies such as Chevron, Exxon, Eni, and many others, including Kazakhstan. We are also not sitting idle in terms of looking for alternative ways of delivering the crude oil and replying to the demand globally and also in Europe. Here we work closely with our dear friends in Baku and also in Turkey in terms of delivering the Kazakh oil through the so-called middle corridor, then over to the through Baku pipeline, through Baku, Tbilisi, Ceyhan route, which is growing rapidly. We are expanding and hope to expand it by 5 million tons by the end of this year, and we have doubled the amount through this route and will continue to do that. Of course, here we would like to mention also the importance of the partnership with the Greek maritime sector, because it is the Greek tankers mostly that take globally a lot of Kazakh oil. And specifically when I mentioned the incidents that happened in the Black Sea with the CPC pipeline were involving some of the tankers that were registered under the Greek companies. And just to mention that, of course, the crude oil is important, but Kazakhstan is not also turning a blind eye on the need to meet the climate changing commitments, and by 2060 we hope to reach the neutrality, carbon neutrality. Here we already making a big emphasis on construction of 2 nuclear reactors and plants in Kazakhstan, whereas actually our country is the has a 40% of all uranium deposits globally, which puts us on the first place, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the amount of uranium that our land is reaching. Generally speaking, Kazakhstan is going through a lot of different changes, be it political, economic, and one of the things that Kazakhstan has actually announced recently is that we are, what I want to agree with you is that you said in the beginning, the energy transition comes back as equal to the energy security. Well, I can attest that, and perhaps Kazakhstan is doing that, as we turn again back to need to focus on the coal development, because to be frank, we have the amount of coal that Kazakhstan has is able to provide the energy for Kazakhstan for 300 years. So right now we are turning into a national project on the coal that will use this energy source in a green, efficient way, but we are not putting a blind eye on it anymore. So but the plans for the renewables is also there. At the moment in our energy mix, it's only 7%. But the goal is to reach 15% by 2030. And of course, here we have a lot of potential for cooperation with Greece, that, if I'm not mistaken, has about 60% of the energy mix right now of green source.
Yes.
So let me perhaps stop here. I'm almost on time.
Yeah.
And, it was a fantastic discussion. And I was happy to blend in a little bit with my oil intervention.
No, we thank you very much for your participation, Ambassador. Really very interesting. And yes, indeed, time is running out. I would like to make a comment. Let me say what I mentioned at the beginning, that eventually energy has become a very formidable instrument of geopolitical leverage. And I want to finish with a, let me say, positive note. This famous energy analyst, Daniel Yergin, said that, yes, of course, we have this competition between Europe, the United States, China, Russia, but he said these economies, the economies of these regions, of these states, are so much tied and intertwined together that their mutual interest and interdependence should act as a deterrent. So let us hope that this is the case, and of course, most of all, let us hope that this terrible war in our neighborhood stops.
Or war of aggression.
Of aggression, exactly, because this would be perhaps the most important factor for seeing the energy sector reaching, let us say, the quality that we all aspire to. I want to thank Mr. Stambolis, first of all, who gave us the opportunity and the chance to gather this distinguished panel here today with so many ambassadors from so many important countries, neighboring countries, countries in the region, or countries which have contributed to the energy sector in the region. And of course, I want to thank also the audience which had the passions to stay with us on this very late hour. Thank you so much to all.
How did you do it? Excellent. Exactly to the second.
Really? My God.
Excellent job, Mike. Thank you very much.